here on the left side of the 45 Canopy model, you've got your shuttle shift here, so you clutch in, knock it forward for forward, knock it back for reverse. You've got neutral in the center there. Also with your clutch, I will reiterate the importance of, you do have a little bit of free play that can be adjusted with this turnbuckle here, but you should avoid wholeheartedly riding the clutch. So after you've changed gears, foot off the clutch entirely until it's needed again. Now another further point with the clutch is you have the clutch for the gearbox, but you also have a sub clutch for the PTO on this second wall. As you can see, it notches up. So what that does is temporarily disengages your PTO and any drive to your implements on the rear. Over here, you've got your low and high range box. So the hare is the fast box, the tortoise is the slow box. Up here, you've got the handbrake, just like your standard car handbrake. And down here, you've got your four-wheel drive selector. Now, as you can see, that comes up in the four-wheel drive, no problem. But you may find sometimes that four-wheel drive won't engage, so it'll only come up a little bit and it won't want to come up. What that means is you'll just have to roll the tractor forward and backward a little bit to make sure that the teeth are lined up a little bit better in the gearbox, and then you'll be able to engage it. One thing to consider with the four-wheel drive is there may be instances where you've bumped it with your foot, which doesn't happen too often on this one, but you may have it half up instead of, and that beep is just to let you know you're in four-wheel drive. You may not actually be in four-wheel drive, but that beep will just say, hey, check that lever. That's it. On this side of the cab, we'll go around to the other side. So over here, starting from right to left, you've got your front end loader controls. Up is down, down is up, left and right are tilt, open and close is on this little lever here. Now, if you find that this lever is completely locked, there's a little locking latch here that you can't see from the driver's seat because this tag normally sits in the way. So you can see that that's locked in. You just pull that little tab back, and that gives you free play in the front end loader controls. Over here is your H pattern shifter, just like your standard car shifter, first, second, third, fourth. Down here is, again, just like a car, your accelerator pedal, and you've got your brakes here. You also do not want to ride your brakes, because what that will result in is cooking your brakes, and you don't want to have to find that out on a hill. Over here, you've got your hand throttle, which does the same thing as your foot throttle, but has two main purposes. One is driving implements on your PTO. So if you've got something like the post hole digger on or your backhoe, you want to be giving it enough drive on the back of the tractor. 12 to 1500 RPM is what you should be running it at, but the tractor will tell you what it wants. You can give it a little bit less or give it a bit more depending on the situation. Now, down here, you've got your diff lock, which when used in conjunction with the four-wheel drive will help you get out of a hole. You push down to engage the diff lock and pull up when you're done coming out of the hole. Another point to reiterate is when you're using diff lock and four-wheel drive, make sure you are in the low box. So you've got it in the turtle on this lever here. And coming over here, you've got your 3-point linkage controls. Most customers and most implements will not ever use these. It just depends whether you have auxiliary outputs that need it. So stuff like your side shift, tilt shift on your flail mower or your verge mower. This here is the main 3-point linkage control. You pull that back to go up, that's in neutral. You push forward for down. Now to engage the float on the 3-point linkage, you want to push it all the way till it locks forward. So what that does is allow your implement to float up and down and follow the contours of the ground. When you're finished, you can knock that back into neutral and you are good to go. So a couple last things to cover is your PTO speed. Now in most cases, in all of our implements, they run at 540 RPM, so you won't ever have to pull this lever up to run at 760. You can use it as a neutral, but that being said, as mentioned, we do have a sub clutch on the PTO on that second wall of the clutch. Now, again, do not ride the clutch, foot off the clutch, unless you are absolutely needing it for changing gears. Otherwise, lay off it. Quick note, because these run a mechanical fuel pump, even if you turn the key off, the tractor will keep running. To kill the tractor, you just need to pull that fuel cut off, and it's spring loaded, so it'll pop back into place after the tractor dies. So as mentioned, your clutch will need some free play in it. As you can see, I'm just using my hand. That is the free play we talk about. And if you do need to adjust the free play, there is a rod just down here with a nut on it. You just loosen the nut and you take up the free play by adjusting the rod there, tighten the nut back down, and just check your free play again. So just up the back of the tractor here is your 3-point linkage and PTO setup. Up here is your hydraulic overflow tank. This is a fill point and your dipstick. You could pull that out to check your hydraulic oil level. This is a breather, and there's also a secondary breather here. Now moving down, these are the auxiliary hydraulic outputs that I spoke about for your 3-point linkage. Unless you have an implement that necessarily runs them, you won't ever use them. Moving on, you've got the top arm for your 3-point linkage. Down here is your PTO shaft that's under this plastic cover. Now this plastic cover is actually threaded. You don't just pull it, you just unthread it. Next up, you've got your swing drawbar here. It's just a couple pins and a couple R-clips holding it in place, so you do need to remove them before you use your PTO for the first time. Here's your bottom 3-point linkage arms with your quick hitch setup. You just have to pull that up, release the balls, but otherwise it's pretty self-explanatory. One other thing to consider when you do your major service is there actually is a secondary hydraulic filter hidden up the back here, which I'll show you. That triangular looking thing there with a hose coming out the top of it is your secondary hydraulic filter. Right there.